Hello, everyone. I wish you a good day. My name is Relja Bobic. I'm the co-founder of Nova Iskra Creative Hub in Belgrade, Serbia, but also one of the co-founders of European Creative Hubs Network. And I was a team member of the Creative FLIP project, especially dealing with our peer-to-peer scheme that will be the topic of this session, as well as the topic of peer learning in general. Before I guide you a bit through the peer-to-peer experiences that we've been having over the last more than 2 years as part of the Creative FLIP project, I would like to say that I feel that the peer learning aspect is kind of at the core of the activities of Creative Hubs. And since the very beginning of, let's say, networking in this domain, and the first conference is dedicated to Creative Hubs, these peer exchanges were really essential, especially having in mind that most of the Creative Hubs were still starting up across Europe in different countries, in different contexts, but they were sharing a lot of common challenges and common topics. And what really showed in the events that we were attending and organizing over the past more than 5 years was that as soon as you're talking about specific problems, specific issues, challenges and solutions, of course, everybody would be really focused, and this was something that was super valuable for all the Creative Hub managers and their colleagues, and also, of course, their community members. So I would like to just ask Ines that we start with the presentation. So, as you probably know, peer-to-peer exchange program was one of the main activities within the Creative FLIP project. And we started realizing it already back in 2019. Of course, the COVID-related challenges were something that affected also this program, and in a big way. We will reflect on that a bit as well. So please, next slide. I would like to speak at the very beginning about the format of the peer-to-peer exchanges within Creative FLIP. So unlike some of the prior peer-to-peer schemes where only managers of Creative Hubs were basically traveling and visiting other hubs and exchanging their experiences, something that was really important in Creative FLIP was that we were also including the community coming from these hubs. So basically the team that would travel to visit another hub and work with them and get to know their ecosystem and finally co-present activities, learning activities and events was made up of one of the members from the Creative Hub management team. So it could be the general manager, but it will also be a community manager, depending on the focus of the exchange. And also a community member, so one of the users of the space and of the services of the Creative Hub. So we had a visiting hub and a hosting hub, very obvious roles. And the slide is trying to just show the dynamics between the two teams and basically the encounters and the fact that a lot of the experience that results in a peer visit is actually going back to the community of the visiting hub through different kinds of dissemination. And of course, this is something that helps the operational capacity of all the visiting and hosting hubs. And I'm sure that is something that our guests, Marina and Tania, who will speak to a bit later on, will also underline. Next slide, please. So the format of each exchange that we were running was envisioned to take place over 4 to 5 working days. So basically 1 week with the focus on collaboration and co-creation and knowledge transfer, building relationships and actually joint development of specific programs. Of course, peer learning, and each of the exchanges was resulting in a final event. We had very different formats, and of course, after the exchange, comes the dissemination. Something that is important to note is that we had 3 basically open calls over the last 2.5 years for 3 rounds of peer-to-peer exchanges, and always the applicants were also explaining what they want to focus on thematically, who they want to talk to, with whom they want to work with, and also the community members were that were taking part in the exchanges were also selected in this way. Next slide, please. So, as I mentioned, the core of the peer-to-peer programs were 2 rounds. There is another 3rd round that is actually still in progress at the moment. But let's go back to the first round, which was basically a pilot one. And we had 10 exchanges that were happening only between the ECHN member hubs, with 20 participating hubs and 20 people traveling. And we had accordingly 10 realized programs. So this was kind of at the end of 2019, and we did a thorough evaluation that we also used for slightly redesigning, of course, the next round, which was scheduled to take place in March-June 2020 period with a much bigger scope, so 40 exchanges, more than 60 participants, and 40 realized programs. And something that was new and really important for this round is that it was open to all creative hubs, and not just from the EU, but all the eligible countries related to the Creative Europe program. And so there was no need for the hubs to have any prior involvement with ECHN or Creative FLIP program or any of the other partners. Next slide, please. So, as we all know, March-June 2020 was a start of a big challenge that we were all together and still are unfortunately experiencing across the world and across Europe. And having in mind that this is a mobility program, this was especially hard on us in dealing with the peer-to-peer program. So all of the exchanges, the whole round 2 was basically needed to be postponed. Next slide, please. And in the end, we kind of scaled down the round 2 to 26 exchanges because we also had to keep in mind that you know, the freedom of choice for people not to travel during 2020, because this was really bringing a lot of also personal challenges, potential health risks, and so on. And as we are a pan-European and beyond program, we had very different situations between the countries, different measures were in place. So we really had to follow this very carefully, be in touch with all of our applicants and participants throughout the process. And eventually, we realized that we need to offer an option for all the participants to either do a physical exchange, of course, if the national and EU level COVID measures are permitting it. But then on the other hand, we also added the option of online exchanges that were designed in a very similar way. We actually want people from creative hubs to work together for at least 10 full working hours within 1 week. And the concept otherwise stayed pretty similar. They were focusing on one topic, developing either some learning tools, resources, and also a final event. So you can see that we still managed to do a lot, and we are really proud of it and proud of the dedication actually of the Creative Hub managers and community members who were really willing to take part, even when it was in a way a bit risky. So please, next slide. So just to look over the adaptations that we had to kind of do because of the coronavirus pandemic. So we had a lot of postponements. We had to have this continuous communication, and above all, a responsible approach. So we didn't want to kind of pressure people, ask from them to travel or to undertake some potentially risky activities. We still wanted to keep the physical format very much, and we were happy that a couple of exchanges were actually realized in this way, where there was a window of time and conditions for this. And also we were adapting the work plans of the participants, because for each of the exchanges there was a dedicated work plan that both hubs developed together and then implemented. And then the final online event is basically something that we are having now. So I'm really happy that a lot of the people who were taking part also in the peer-to-peer program are with us today. Next slide, please. Of course, one of the aspects of downsizing, in a way, the program, or well, we didn't downsize it, but we had to there was a lot less traveling, and we realized there were resources to do something else and to try out potentially another format of peer learning. And in spring of this year, the Ambassadors of Change program was launched as a peer-to-peer platform or a tool that facilitated the showing of 14 selected methods and good practices that basically emerged as a response to the pandemic situation. Next slide, please. And these are just some of the let's say good practices that were shared by some of the creative hubs from across Europe, and then other creative hub representatives were also able to book sessions for one-on-one consultations with the creative hubs who wanted to present some of their, let's say, trademark activities and experiences. So this is something that is still going on, if I'm not wrong, until the end of this month, and there are still some sessions available. So please visit the Creative Flip website and have a look at the Ambassadors of Change program. I would like to ask Ines just to run through the next 10 slides. We have some photographs from different exchanges, so some very nice documentation, so you can see various situations that our participants were kind of involved in. And you can also see here that the diversity of the creative hubs taking part is really immense, as well as the diversity of the programs and the formats that they were doing together. So from panels and lectures and presentations to very hands-on experiences, workshops, a lot of networking, and then also some, let's say, toolkits and online resources, and a lot of valuable experience. So the next one, please. I will just very briefly reflect on the impressions and takeaways from our community. So Marina and Tania will talk more in detail about their experience of the exchanges, but just on a, let's say, a statistical level, we had a really good turnout. We had really nice feedback. So we can go to the next slide. As you can see, the community members also engaged with the program in a really nice way, and I'm sure that a lot of longer-term collaborations have already come out of the program and will in the future. The overall experience, so nothing less than 7, which is, I think, really good, and having in mind that also had a lot of challenges in terms of postponements and changes of the protocol. Slightly, we really had to adapt. So I'm also very grateful to the participants for their patience. Next one, please. So we had a pretty good feedback on the communication and kind of how the format was envisioned. Next slide, please. Then, as we can see, the format was graded as just right. So this is really great. And this is something that we kept in both rounds. Next slide, please. And in regards to the dissemination, also this shows that all the participants kind of really connected to the project and to their experience. There was actually a lot to share with their peers and colleagues locally. And next slide, please. And the most important thing is that we had 100% positive feedback in the sense of taking part in a similar program once again. And as you will hear also from Tania, who had a chance to take part in more than one round of the program, this is something that really shows that there was something valuable and good coming out of the exchanges. So for the very end of the presentation, I would like to also talk a bit briefly about the peer-to-peer toolkit. So next slide, please. Before that, I wanted to just say that we had a lot of online activity on social media and online communications and through the newsletters. So I think with having in mind how many creative hubs and their members took part in the program, we had a really big reach. And also as part of the online exchanges, we had a lot of events that were streamed online and streamed live. So I'm happy to say that we managed to reach really a big number of people and professionals from the creative communities in all of these countries. So with the next slide, we move on to the peer-to-peer toolkit, which is one of the outputs of the peer-to-peer program. So next slide, please. And this is a digital publication that was developed by the Creative Flip team. And the idea was to kind of put together the most valuable experiences of the participants, and to actually also offer resources to other organizations or other platforms who would like to run peer-to-peer programs, run successful peer-to-peer programs in the future. So we also wanted to point out, you know, what are some of the obstacles that need to be avoided, and what kind of process, let's say, is the best. Next slide, please. And basically at this conference, we are for the first time presenting the peer-to-peer toolkit. So of course we are within the publication presenting the program, something I talked about a bit over the last 10 minutes. But then the really important section is the useful tips for peer-to-peer learning, where we really want to kind of share the direct experiences, both from our participants, but also from us as the team that was coordinating the program. And hopefully other organizations and professionals will find this useful and use it in their own designs. And then from both round 1 and round 2, we wanted to showcase a couple of exchanges. So next slide, please. That were presented with a bit of documentation and also description, of course, of the exchange itself. Next slide, please. I would also like to point you to the Creative Flip website and peer-to-peer page on it, where you can read, I think, between 10 and 15 blog posts that are basically stories about different peer exchanges that took part within this program. Of course, I invite you to check out the peer-to-peer toolkit, which will be available, I think, as of today. And right now, I would like to invite Tania Santos from Porto, from Crew Co-work. So Tania is kind of involved with ECHN from the very start, and is a really strong force on the creative hub scene, I think definitely in Europe, but even beyond, and is doing something really amazing in Porto with the Crew Co-work. So Tania, please share some of your impressions and experiences from the different peer-to-peer exchanges you realized within Creative Flip. And thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Relja, for the introduction. I'm here today. As Relja told, I'm here as a vice president of ECHN, but also as the founder and director of CRU Creative Hub. I will ask Ines, please, to start the slides. So I will start to, please next slide. I will start to introduce you a bit about CRU. CRU is a creative hub in Porto. We founded in 2012. And it's a combination of different spaces, a co-working space for creative activities, for creative professionals, also a shop of design products. Now we have also a small specialty cafeteria, and we have studios, photography studios, audio recording studios, and a huge community of creatives in the Porto city center. And since, next slide, please. And since the beginning of ECHN, as Relja said, this peer-to-peer program is really in the root of ECHN since the beginning. So since 2016, we are experimenting these programs and upgrading it each time. And since then, I'm a huge fan of these peer-to-peer exchanges and peer-to-peer learning. As you can see by this map, since 2016, we hosted in CRU several different hubs across Europe. We had the chance and the opportunity also to visit some of our heroes of the creative hub scene. And these last years in this FLIP project, we continue always to apply to these programs and to hope to get the opportunity of these exchanges to go and to host. And within this FLIP project, we had this opportunity of hosting two different peer-to-peer exchanges. One was a physical one, and the other was online exchange. And next slide, please. And here I can tell you a little bit why I'm such a big fan of these programs, why this is so important for hub managers, no matter what stage they are. In the beginning, of course, when the hubs are very young, this could be a really important tool for their growth, for their learning. But I think even in later stages of the hubs, this could be really an important tool to open the horizons, to establish new networks, to have some influence on the projects you can establish in an international, and in this case, in a European or pan-European level. So why this is important? So first of all, during these peer-to-peer exchanges, we can know the people. We can learn and see the leadership and managing skills in action, understand the backgrounds of and role models and the motivations behind the people that we are visiting. And we can know better the context, understanding the dimension, the cultural and other important features of a local context. What makes sense in a place or in a cultural may not be possible to reproduce elsewhere in Europe. So sometimes when we share toolkits, when we share stories, when we share conversations online, everything seems possible, but when you visit the place, when you are face to face with the people, you understand what is reproducible or not. And another thing that I think it's very, very important, it's the the ability of building trust. These programs are very important to engage people and collaborate with need to trust our partners. So this program promotes friendships more than professional relationships, and this is very important. Next slide, please. So this is another. I'm showing some pictures, some images of this one of our exchanges. This one was from Nova Iskra, Belgrade, and this is Nana and Dragana with some of our partners from educational institution. And this is a study visit. So this is something that we can also do during these programs. We can host these teams. In this program, as Relja said, they are not just one person, they are a team. In this case, Nana from Nova Iskra brought Dragana from Creative Mentorship with the goal of building in Crew a new creative mentorship program with the help of these two wonderful ladies. And in exchange, we also immersed Nana and Dragana in our ecosystem, in our creative ecosystem in Porto, in our ecosystem of partners. So we introduced them to people, to potential partners for future projects and for future adventures. So we can, in these situations, in these events, we can talk about hubs, we can hear about stories of hubs, we can describe models, we can see pictures and photographs, but there's nothing like seeing with our own eyes. And sometimes you'll be impressed by small things, unexpected things, and that's what will inspire us really. So next slide, please. So yeah, it's about these moments that we have that sometimes are really professional, and we are sitting in the meeting room. We are explaining our practices. We are putting everything on the paper and learning with each other and make it tangible learning. And sometimes it's just about what you do in your spare time and free times, in lunches, in dinners, in the walks you do around the city with important stakeholders that you choose to present to these visitors from another hub. And this is also very, very important, because when you go somewhere to another hub in these programs, you depend on your host, and your host will make the possible and impossible to create the fruitful conditions for you to have the best experience during these 4 or 5 days. So yeah, so in these moments we find our similarities, we know better our culture. There's a culture exchange that is also very important for us to work in the future with trust and with easiness. I will for this particular exchange, like Relja said, we had this program together. So the two hubs built a program, and this program would result in a final event. And I will ask Ines to pass a video of our event, our final event.
Hello, my name is Tania Santos. I'm the founder and manager of Crew Co-work. Crew Co-work is a creative hub in Porto. It's a space which combines a co-working space for creative activities, a shop, a gallery, and a production space for all the creative work that happens there. This initiative is part of a program called FLIP, which is led by Goethe-Institut with the partnership of European Creative Hubs Network. We are super excited to host our dear friends and partners from Belgrade, Nana and Dragana from Nova Iskra and from Creative Mentorship. The purpose of this exchange is to transfer knowledge from this program they run in Serbia for us to implement this program here at CRU and in Porto for the creative class. Today we are glad to host some of the creatives of our Porto creative community to share with them and to check on them what is the reaction about this new program for Porto.
Hello, my name is Nana Radenkovic. I come from Belgrade. I'm a co-founder of a creative hub from Belgrade, Serbia. It's a great pleasure to be a guest of CRU Co-work throughout this project, Creative Flip, the project with the idea to exchange knowledge, experiences and good practices. Together with me is Dragana Jeftić from Kreativno mentorstvo, one of the co-workers of our creative hub. And we are here in Porto to present the idea and project of creative mentorship, especially for creatives, since we strongly believe in lifelong learning and continuous work on our personal and professional development.
Hello from me as well. My name is Dragana Jeftić and I'm the co-founder and director of Creative Mentorship, both the program and the NGO. 8 years ago we were very inspired by amazing women from Sweden to start a mentoring program, and now we have run 6 cycles of Creative Mentorship program and 250 people have gone through it. The mission of Creative Mentorship is to support personal and professional development of future professionals and leaders in the field of arts, culture, creative industries and media. We have been doing that in Serbia for 8 years now, and this year we have started a new mentorship program for the region, for Bosnia, Albania and Serbia, and are starting first European project, Erasmus project. We also do a promotion of the idea of mentorship as a lifelong learning method, but we also support other organizations in starting their own mentoring programs, and we have done that in Serbia, in Sweden and today in Porto, Portugal, and we are very happy to be here.
Thank you, Ines. And for finishing, I would like to say that I'm focusing mostly in the offline presential exchange because really is different from the online one. We also made one with Biskošnica, Mirela from Croatia, Zagreb, is in the first picture. In the first photo, showing us around her hub. So this is a virtual tour to her hub. Things continue to be possible even with these conditions of COVID. But yeah, this is really important. At this moment, we are collaborating with Nana and Dragana, especially with Dragana, with the implementation of the program. So I think this could be a really good output. Relja, can you introduce Marina?
Of course. Thank you very much, Tania. And I'm especially happy that you were able to promote the physical exchange that happened last October in a kind of window of time when I think in both countries it was possible to do it. So without much further ado, I would like to invite Marina Batinic from Culture Hub Croatia to share her impressions of the peer-to-peer exchange that she was involved in. If I'm not mistaken, together with the Polygon Hub from Ljubljana, Slovenia. So Marina, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you, first of all, for the invitation. I'm very happy to share our experience from the peer-to-peer exchange with Polygon that we participated in back in October 2019. We can start with the slides. Before that, I will just give you some background on where we were at that point as an organization, and later how being part of these international networks actually helped us to grow. We can go to the first slide. Together with two of my colleagues, we founded CHC officially in January 2017. And from the very beginning, our aim was to start with the transfer of knowledge from the rest of Europe to our community in the city of Split and Croatia as a whole. Since all of us lived abroad, myself more than 10 years, I noticed that many people who don't have that opportunity to travel or study abroad rarely actually get the chance to see something different and to be in contact with exciting new ways of working and being creative. So this was our mission, to establish wide European partnerships, join European projects, and create synergies and meaningful content for the local community. Next. So, of course, our long-term goal was to have a physical space, but at the very beginning, this was obviously difficult. We took that as an advantage, and we used every opportunity to create small pop-up events and experiment in urban, public, and private spaces to build the community around our values, and also to empower young creative people to show that things are possible even when the context and the environment are not very encouraging. We did lots of projects, workshops, and activities throughout Croatia, always placing partnerships at the core, whether it was with the cities and universities or associations and grassroots initiatives. So we were never doing things alone. And often we were using very unusual spaces to work. Next one. So at the moment of the exchange, we were already creating this vision of the space, and we wanted to learn from established hubs in our countries, in other countries. And every time we had the opportunity when traveling around Europe, we would always stop by to a hub and talk to the managers and write a short story for our blog. But when peer-to-peer exchange appeared, we saw it as an opportunity to stay longer in one place and to go deeper in what it actually means to run a hub and how to make it sustainable. Next. So why we chose Polygon? Firstly, because it's a neighboring country, Slovenia, having a similar context. And in addition to that, our hosts know very well Croatia. So the exchange was beneficial because of that mutual understanding. What I like very much about Polygon and what I find particularly similar is that they develop their hub and the community in an organic way. Sometimes, even if you don't have a clear strategy from the start, what matters is the vision and a reaction to a certain problem. And Polygon also started without the space, having pop-up co-working in Ljubljana. And it was a response to a need, to the lack of support to creative industries faced with economic and social challenges. Next one. It opened in 2014 after more than 2 years of building community, and they contribute significantly to the systematic changes at the policy level, all for the benefit of independent workers in Slovenia. This was also something that was very interesting to learn about. Even if in the meantime they have lost their space, they continue to exist precisely because of the impact that they made and the community that they have. So I can say that the main thing that we learned is that it's never just about the space. Next one. During the exchange, we really had valuable time, working time with both Luca and Eva, our hosts, who guided us through their development, shared their experiences, and allowed to connect with members of their community. And as the scheme required one hub manager and one community member to participate, as you have heard, we have selected one architect to come with me. She's a freelancer working with us on some projects. And this was for her actually the first time she visited another creative hub. And from that aspect, this exchange was quite exciting for her as well. Next. During 1 week, we had our working sessions, but we also had time to visit other culture and creative spaces in Ljubljana. And this was super interesting because we discovered some really great initiatives, such as an art gallery in a former fish market. Next one, you can see it here on the right. In the background is their open studio that they have. And on the left is a very unique printing studio, preserving traditional letterpress printing technique. Next one. We use the exchange also to sit down with a couple of community members and have interviews with them. The aim was to understand better the needs of coworkers and what they value most in the space, in the physical sense, but also in the spatial organization, but also in the sense of belonging to a community. So it was really interesting to get their feedbacks. And this also informed a lot how we think about our space nowadays. Next. As an event organized during the exchange, we decided to have Open Doors Day. So everyone was invited to come to Polygon and to learn more about it. So we encountered a lot of people who were just curious about knowing how co-working works or what Polygon can offer. And we actually acted as hosts, which was really fun. And it was kind of the hub management experience from the first hand. We enjoyed it a lot. Next one. You can see us here at the reception area being hosts. And in the next slide, this is a video that was made with some moments from the exchange, if it's possible to play it. Good. If not, it's not a big, yeah, okay, great. So this here you are going to see just some moments that we had in Polygon. If it doesn't work, it's okay. And I just wanted to say that I'm really glad to go back in 2019 and to observe how this exchange impacted us. We already stressed it a lot, how important these type of international exchanges are, and especially for the culture and creative sectors. It is not easy to be resilient and become sustainable in culture, but it is for sure possible, and we don't have to start from scratch. Many have gone through this path before and made it. So interacting with inspiring hubs from Europe and learning from failures and adapting the successful models is actually key for more creative hubs to develop, and especially in the Balkan region, I would say, because we really need this input. After the exchange, soon we went back to Ljubljana for a creative forum at Polygon, and this was an immediate follow-up from the exchange. And later, back in Croatia, we were planning our first larger experiment in Split. And since we didn't have our own space, we had this idea to use empty and closed spaces during winter in the historical center that are usually used for tourism purposes. Next one. Before the general COVID lockdown, beginning of 2020, we implemented this initiative called Voids. We agreed with several local businesses to open their closed spaces to art and the community. And historical core of Split is actually deprived of any content for the locals, as everyone moved out of it. So we wanted to react to that, and in general to the lack of spaces for culture. So we tested the creative hub concept at the level of the city. You can go to the next one. We used souvenir shops and exchange offices as open studios for artists from Croatia and the neighboring countries. And we launched a scheme called Adopt the Space, which allowed anyone in the community to propose an activity in one of these unusual spaces. It was really an amazing experience because it allowed us to test people and also to test the whole scheme. During 3 weeks, we had 8 open studios and 35 events, which were co-created with the community. Our last event was just before the lockdown, beginning of March. It was on the topic of creative hubs, impact, challenges, and sustainability, where Luca from Polygon also participated. Next one. So somehow we managed to do everything, and we repeated the whole thing this year in winter time. And we really tested the features of our future creative hub. So temporary occupation, especially in COVID times, proved to have its advantages. But on the other hand, we can never fully realize our goals without the space. So finally, I'm super happy to say that after 4 years of learning from others and from ourselves, we took that step of renting private space. We did try to get some of the city-owned spaces which are empty, but this is such a long process that we just decided to go our own way. And we are opening on the 3rd of July. So this is very exciting for us. The space will consist of a gallery, events and co-working space, but we also have a large open studio, and we are lucky to have found a space that has an integrated apartment. So we are actually able to develop our residency program within the hub. And in the meantime, we also participated in the second round of exchanges, which was a virtual one. 2 of my other colleagues were participating in that exchange, and it was on the topic of developing artist studios. So again, it was super useful experience. And we can go to the last one. Yes, we are transitioning from this organization, which was everywhere but nowhere at the same time, and now we are being deeply rooted in a specific context. It is probably the most exciting thing that we have done so far, but I just wanted to say that the experience of being in contact with other creative hubs informed a lot how we perceive our space today, and I hope that these type of exchanges are going to continue to be supported. Of course, you are welcome to visit us anytime. If the way brings you to Croatia, our doors are open, and feel free to reach out. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Marina. So we are coming to the end of the session on peer-to-peer. I would like to thank everyone for being with us, and I would like to remind you that the peer-to-peer toolkit will actually be available in a couple of days via the Creative Flip website. You can also sign up for the newsletter with ECHN, and of course follow all social channels of Creative Flip and ECHN as well to get the first taste of the toolkit once it is online. I would like to thank the Creative Flip team for their work on the entire project and on the conference, and of course Marina and Tania. It's amazing to see tangible long-term results coming out of these activities. So right now we are taking a lunch break, and we hope that you have signed up for one of the parallel sessions that will start at 2 p.m. So these are peer-to-peer ambassadors of change. Then the second one, Flip to Act, a collaborative serious game to break down the silos. And the third one is Discover the So You Need Money guidebook. For those who have not signed up, you have received the link for the Zoom meeting. For those who have signed up, you probably already have the Zoom meeting link in your inbox where the sessions will take place. And otherwise, we are going to be back here on the platform at 3 p.m. with the final panel session, Flip in the Future. And there we are going to talk about the Creatives Unite platform, another big part of the Creative Flip project, which actually emerged within the project and also as a kind of response to the circumstances. And you will hear great examples of the Renaissance project by the European Theatre Convention and Illuminate Cities project directly from New York. So thanks to everyone once again, and stick with us for the rest of the program.